there's a young man that reached out to me a while ago, and he's like, hey, I'm starting my agency. I'm doing well, but I need help. I'm more focused on the business side of like, how do you actually scale your company? How do you manage your people? How do you build infrastructure? And so we're building masterminds around that. We have a community on Discord with about 400, 500 people in it. And so and it's all free. Right now, everything's free. This podcast is free. I'm learning how to help other marketers from a business standpoint, where I think there's a big void in the space right now. And so what are your thoughts on like how I should position this podcast? This is going to be probably episode 2 or 3. So what are your thoughts on who my target audience is, and then how I position with marketing agencies or marketing experts like yourself? How do you think I should tackle that?
I think the interviews is a great approach, because when you talk to somebody, and that can be 2 ways, right? It could be you interviewing people you've already worked with that you already helped to boost your credibility even more on that podcast, right? So that's a area of content that you always have available, is people that you've helped. Then you had the other side where you interview people that they want to learn from you. They have questions for you. So you bring them on your show, and you have a back and forth conversation, and a true conversation where you're asking them about their problems and what they're facing, but they can also ask you questions as well. And this is really unique, and most people don't do this. But the reason why this is so good is because it turns it from kind of a separated interview where you're here and they're here. It's more of a balanced conversation, which is what people love. You look at Joe Rogan's podcast. It's so successful because we see him as a guy that's up here that knows everybody, that knows a lot. And his guests are the same way. He has the celebrities or athletes on that know a lot of people, and they know a lot of information, and they just have a conversation.
Yeah.
I think when we try to make podcasting too scripted and technical, it takes away from the value of the content. When you narrow things down and it's just a basic conversation between 2 people, that's when it's good, especially if you're talking about something like marketing.
Yeah.
You know, you ask them questions, they ask you questions, and it is just recorded. That is probably the best kind of content out there, when it sounds like a conversation and not an interview.
Yeah, I love that. So, okay, so I haven't talked about this one. So we're starting a 3rd podcast that actually we're going to start recording it in about 2 weeks. And what it's called is called the 8-Figure Agency Show. So you just kind of gave me confirmation that we're doing this right. And here's the setup. I'm not bringing on guests. There's a young man that reached out to me a while ago, and he's like, hey, I'm starting my agency. I'm doing well, but I need help. He's 18 years old. And he's way ahead of where he should be at 18 years old. And so he's having to learn a lot of things that usually you don't learn until you're in your 20s or 30s even. And so he was just like, man, what if we did a podcast together? And you being an 8-figure agency, right? You guys are going to do 20 million this year. I'm going to do this much. I'll bring all my problems, and then you help me walk through those problems. It'll be great content, and then I'll get time with you. And I was like, bro, if you edit it and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, absolutely. And that's what he does. They do video editing. So I think I said, okay, let's do this for a while. Let's see how it goes. But I really agree with you. I think that's going to be like, everybody I've told the idea to, they're like, that's really cool. Because I don't think other people are doing that, to your point. And so how do you, if you were a marketing agency, right? So how would you approach starting a podcast for your marketing agency? Assuming that you're not you, right? You're the podcast marketing guy. So assuming you're not you, say you generate leads for chiropractors, or you make videos for people, or you're a video editor. How would you tackle that? How would you use podcasting for something like that?
I love doing these examples because I think it's the best way to explain something to people. So if I work with chiropractors, I think what I would do is I would have guests on my show. I would have guests on that are, well known in that industry. People that I would literally go to Amazon and find people that are putting out books on this topic. Who's putting out a book in the next 6 months? Have my assistant go and contact all of those people. And that's like 50 interviews.
The chiropractors themselves that would be potential clients, or people who are experts in that industry on other subjects?
People that are around the industry as well, because I think it's unique because we should always go for the person specifically that we want to work with. That's not always the best person to talk to, right? Like if I wanted to train an NBA player, I wouldn't go directly to that player all the time. I would go to somebody else that he works with, somebody else that he knows.
His strength coach,
And then you kind of can work towards that relationship through other people. So that's one thing I would do. Another thing I would do is, like we talked about with the organic conversation, I will bring on chiropractors from my local area, right? I will try to get some video content in person where it's literally just a 20 to 30-minute conversation about their business and how things are going and what's going on.
Why would you do that? What would be the benefit of that? Is that obviously it's not just for the client opportunity. What's the upsell from there?
Because there, it's really about having organic conversations. And I think that's part of how you connect with your audience. All of your content cannot be to sell something, because agreed. Then you just kind of wear your audience out. It gets boring.
So I'm going to touch on this really quick, and we'll definitely keep diving down this road. But I'm 100% with you. Like I don't sell on anything. Like dental marketing theory, I don't even talk about my company. And the interesting thing about it, we don't even talk about marketing. So I've had people go, dental marketing theory, you guys, I bring on people who are like, cool, you have like 60 locations, you've built up your dental enterprise. They don't need me as a client. Like they wouldn't hire me as an expert, right? Like they already have built their internal team, but I'm sitting here and I'm asking him questions about his business, and it draws in a lot of other listeners who are interested in the industry that are potential clients. So now I have potential clients listening, and they look at this guy and they go, man, this guy that I'm interviewing is a genius, business genius, and Gary's talking with them. So there's almost like some social credit that's passed back and forth there. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 1000%. And what's funny is I've had people reach out to me and invite me places to speak and invite me on their podcasts just because of who I interview. On a lot of my shows right now, I have the Business of Podcasting, which is my main show, but the Personal Branding Playbook is my oldest show. I've had that for about 6 years now. And I've done hundreds of episodes with people that are way smarter than me, way richer than me. And I love it because I'm always learning something. And that connection goes a really long way. And I get a lot of opportunities as well, simply from talking to that person.